Hi, this is Rob Graham, the Director of Training at LearningCraft. And this time around, I want to show you how you can create some interesting special effects within Flash by using masks. Now, masks are one of those things that have been around for years in a variety of different applications, and for many of us, it's been kind of a mystery hole of what the heck is a mask? Well, at its most basic purpose, a mask is really just a hole. It's a hole that you look through and see something else. Let me show you as an example what I'm talking about. On the screen here in front of me, I have a picture, a photograph of the city of Boston, as seen from the city of Cambridge. And what we might want to do is figure out how we can create some sort of effect so that we can only see certain parts of this photograph through a mask that we create. Now, in that case, if I were to go out here to my tools palette, and let's just say we select an oval tool, and if I go and create a brand new layer and select that blank keyframe, I'm going to draw a circle that's going to sit right here over the Prudential Tower. Now, obviously I've done kind of the opposite of what we were trying to do, is I've now have this big green blob over what it is we wanted to see. In order for us to use this as a mask, we need to, in essence, declare it as a mask. So to do that, if I go to the layer that holds the object that I wish to be the hole that I look through, and if I right-click on it, you can see that I can select where it says mask. And now what happens is that layer, in essence, becomes a hole that I can see through. And in this case, the object that we created, the one that is all green, has become invisible, and as a result, all we can see through our mask is the object that we had covered up with it. Now, obviously, this has some certain limitations as to its usefulness, but let me show you ways we might get around this. I'm going to undo this process here, and we can delete this. Now, let's say we wanted to approach this from a slightly different angle and do something a little more artsy. For example, let's say we wanted to look at the photograph of Boston through the word Boston, give us some sort of an effect. So to do that, I'm going to go over here to my tool palette. I'm going to select the text tool. And I can also go down here and select the font that I want to use. I'm going to choose an Arial Black in this case. And I'm going to set it fairly large. I can type in 150 points here as the font size. And I'm just going to keep it this green color because it doesn't really matter for us. This is going to be the hole we end up using. And let's just go and grab, and I'm going to type in Boston. There it is. Now I'm going to have to position this. Let me grab and pull this down a little bit and get it over the city area. Now, in truth, this font's a little less than what I really wanted it to. I'm thinking I'd like something a little bit taller, and we can take care of that very easily using the free transform tool. If I go over here and select my free transform tool, I can now take my text block and I can stretch it out. So I get more of the font I want. There we go. That looks pretty good. And now, with this as the object that we declare as our mask, once again, if I go up here and right-click on this layer, I can go and say mask. And now we're able to see the photograph through several holes that have been cut out, a stencil, in essence, that says Boston. Now, that's a nice start, but the reality, of course, also is this by itself is not all that interesting either. So let's talk about some other approaches that we can have. Let me undo this here. And what I want to consider maybe is, wouldn't it be interesting if the word Boston appeared coming over the photograph as an animation and allows us to see the city in different places as it animates across? Well, in order to do that, we need to first of all establish the length of time our animation is going to last. And let's just say, for the sake of this project, we're going to go about 50 frames. So I want to make sure that my background layer, which is the photograph of Boston, extends. So I'm going to go out here on its layer. And at frame 50, I'm just going to go and either right-click here to insert a frame, or I can press the F5 key. It will do the exact same thing. So now what I've done is I've taken this photograph and I've extended it from frame 1 all the way to frame 50. Now, with regard to the mask layer that I want to put on here, I really just want to go and create a motion tween that will allow this word to start at frame 1, perhaps off stage on this side, and at frame 50, be off stage on this side. So let's set this up a little bit. To begin with, if I go here to frame 50, and I can either right-click and select Insert Keyframe, or I can press F6, and that will do the same thing. And what that does is it takes a copy of the current keyframe, the one here, and it moves it to the end as well. So while we don't need it for our first layer, we just want to extend the keyframe so that we have a background that extends throughout the entire animation. With regard to the object that we'll be animating, however, we want to make sure that we have a starting position and an ending position. So with the first keyframe selected, I can move the words off a little bit. By the way, if you hold the Shift key down while you're using your arrow keys, you will move the object you're moving in increments of 10 pixels. You can make things a lot faster. I'm just going to bring it right off the stage on this side. And then I'm going to select frame 50, and I'm going to move the word so that it goes off the right-hand side of the stage, just barely. There we go. And now with those two keyframes in position where I want them, I'm going to now hold my Shift key down and Shift select so that I have both of those keyframes and everything in between them. And down here in my Properties window, I am going to select Motion Tween from the menu here, and the arrow that appears tells me that everything went well. And if I were to grab my playback head, you can see that the word Boston is indeed scrolling across. So that's a pretty good start. However, once again, if we were to run this right now, let's take a peek, it's a large green word floating over this. In order to make this work, once again, we need to go to the layer that we're using as our mask, in this case the word Boston, and select Mask. And now we don't see much of anything, and if I go and click Control Enter to start my movie, there we go. So now Boston will continue to go across, and we'll be able to see the photograph, which is not moving, through the mask, which is moving. Now, there are a couple other things you should understand about masking to make it a little bit more interesting for you. First of all, you'll notice that we run our animation here. Let me just undo this. That it is appearing as white. Now, where's that white coming from? Well, the reason behind this is that we currently have the background stage as a default color set to white. And if I were to just click anywhere here in the background, I can come down here to my Properties window and get information about the project. First of all, it tells me the size of the stage. It also tells me what the color of the background is and the frame rate of the animation. If I wanted to change the background, it's as simple as clicking on this color box here and choosing a different color. Let's say we wanted to choose black instead. And now once again, if we go in here and mask the layer, you'll notice that we have a black background instead of white. And if we were to run it by hitting Control Enter, then we have a very different effect. It looks a little bit more like Boston might look as seen at night. And I wish you good luck with this project. And as always, if you need any help in any type of multimedia development and training, please think of LearningCraft. We can help you not only in Flash, but a variety of other applications, as well as interactive and online marketing tools. You can certainly learn more at our website at www.learningcraft.com. This is Rob Graham. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time.